everybody, and welcome back to Seconds Out. We're here today to review the top 5 fights taking place on Riyadh season shows. It's a year since Riyadh season was launched on the 28th of October 2023, and we're going to bring you what we think were the top 5 fights from the last year of Riyadh season. And we kick off with number 5, an Andy Ruiz versus Jerell Miller. A real back and forth fight and a top performance from Miller, who had already appeared on a couple of Riyadh season cards heading into this fight. He was dominant in the second half of the fight over former world champion Ruiz, but didn't get the rub of the green, when many expected and thought that he did have the best of the fight. One fight card scoring it 116, 112 to Miller, but the other two cards 114, 114, confirming it a draw, and no result for Miller on that occasion, but we expect to see him back in 2025 in another big fight.
Who do you think won?
I thought Miller won it.
So they robbed Miller. I did message Miller. I'm like, I think they robbed you.
I mean, I even have the statistics from Jabber. You know, we have the AI punch stats, and it shows Miller.
I messaged
dominant.
I messaged Miller. I was like, you know what? They robbed you on that one. But you know what? It's always a good set for another rematch.
I thought Big Baby Miller pulled it off. I thought he did enough. I thought he was biting down when it in the right times. He was fighting, trying to steal the rounds. They're both big, so he wasn't going to see, a whole lot of punching in action. No way, But I thought that one thing that I was very impressed with was his adjustment, because prior to the fight, I talked to Big Baby, and he was saying that he was going to box him and stay on his feet, which I thought was a decent game plan, because I know he keep him at distance, and I know he can.
In at number 4, we've got Hamza Shiras versus Amo Williams. A very different victory to his more recent win over Tyler Denny, which was, of course, confirmed in just a single round. He really had to grind down the American, who was very gritty from the start in this fight. Shiras was the dominant force, although Williams certainly had his moments and caused Shiras a lot of problems, possibly the most in his career so far. Shiras had Williams down in round 10 and eventually stopped the contest in round 11, just before we got to the judges' scorecards, where I'm sure he would have claimed the victory anyway. Let's hear what people had to say in the aftermath of that one.
And Hamza, it was a magnificent performance against somebody who come to fight, and caught him a couple of times earlier in the fight. But I made him a captain for a reason, because I knew I felt he would get the additional points for a knockout, and that's exactly what he did. Captain's performance.
We were just put pressure on him. If you keep listening to Ricky, he goes tighten up and put pressure on him and wear him down. And if you look at me, you think he's going to use his arms and his length, but today I had to show that I had to mix it up to get the win.
Did you feel the knockout coming?
I felt it. I did feel it. But then when I knocked him down in the 10th round, I didn't realise there was only 2 more rounds left. So I thought if he's fit here, he will survive it. But like I said, I put them shots together and got him out of there.
From one fight on the 5v5 to another, we head into number 3, and Ray Ford versus Nick Ball. The Liverpudlian was coming off a disappointing and controversial draw with Ray Vargas just 10 weeks earlier, before he took the fight against the American, again for the featherweight world title. And it was a completely different fight to what we'd seen against Vargas, where he struggled in the opening round and dominated the second half of the fight, scoring a couple of knockdowns against Vargas. In this fight, he dominated the first half of the fight, particularly scoring heavily in rounds 4, 5 and 6, before Ford came stronger in the later rounds. The final and 12th round was an absolute shootout. Very little defence on offer, offering an absolutely incredible ending to a toughly fought and incredible fight. Let's hear what some of the best pundits around the world had to say about that one.
Yeah, look, I thought there was a bit of ebb and flow in that fight. I thought at points, Ray looked great. I thought in points, Nick Ball looked really good in the early part of the fight. And I just think that Ray will really kick himself. Although I don't want to take too much away from Nick Bull's brilliant win here, I think a little bit of immaturity and not listening to his corner too much, a little bit of kicking himself because he didn't push on after he looked like he broke Nick Bull's nose there, and a little bit of lack of nous to not kind of implement. What surprises me really, just to get this out, is I have no doubt that Ray Ford would have encountered that type of style countless times in sparring, done those doghouse spars, done that type of thing where has been up against it and had fighters throwing so much and so much and so much at him, and that's what I think gave him the confidence to just shut up a little bit and not throw back as much, because he, he's done that and looked good and had the adulation in the sparring and been told, you won that, that he probably took that confidence in, and that's where he let it slip.
Not really, and even if it does, you can't get frustrated or let it get difficult. You've got to stay focused, keep going, and it's not over till it's over, is it? And till we get the job done, and now it's all paid off. I'm standing here world champion.
When you heard a split decision read out right at the top, what were you thinking?
After what happened last time, you never know what can happen, but there was something about this night, this week, this whole trip. I had a good feeling about it, and in my performance, I felt like I deserved it, and I was the champion, and it showed.
In at number 2 and rewinding the clocks just a couple of weeks, we head back over to Saudi Arabia for Artur Beterbiev versus Demitri Bivol in the undisputed light heavyweight contest. A fight like many of these on this list that was a little controversial on the scorecards, owing to it being such a close fight. I personally had it just edging Bivol on first occasion, but having watched it back, had it swinging in the favour of Artur Beterbiev, and that's the way that many people scored this fight, backwards and forwards, with Bivol having the better of the early exchanges and Beterbiev coming into it in the mid-rounds. Bivol then took the advantage once again before Beterbiev took rounds 10 and 11, with the final round being a swing round that could have gone either way. Beterbiev's pressure was a constant throughout the fight, and a terrific technical display from Demitri Bivol made it an impossible, almost impossible fight to score. I've seen so many different scorecards, but let's see what some of the best boxing analysts around the world and promoters had to say.
There were very thin line who could understand my boxing and my plan. Some people didn't understand, judges. This is why, it's their opinion. That's it. I could be better. I know I could be better. Like against Canelo, I was trying to be better every round. This time I wasn't better every round.
Yeah, absolutely. All good points there. I thought it was a very, very good fight. I didn't think it was a classic. I think for those sort of classic fights, you need a little bit more fire. There were a couple of moments where it looked like it might explode, but it didn't quite. But it was high level chess, and maybe even slightly more than that. It was a very, very good fight, and I'd love to see it again. Really, really excited beforehand. I thought Bivol would win on points beforehand, but as the fight unfolded, exactly as I thought it would go. The first 4 rounds, maybe you could score it 3-1 to Bivol or 4-0. I mean, Beterbiev was not in it. I thought he was stuck in the mud. I thought he was slow. And then when he did get going, obviously he had huge success, especially to the body. But a lot of the punches I felt were being caught by Bivol's gloves. I thought his defense was excellent. Yeah, there were moments where Beterbiev won clear rounds, no question. But for me, Bivol was boxing fairly beautifully throughout. Yes, there was some ebbs and flows. Yes, it was Bivol early, then Beterbiev came back. Bivol right at the end, Beterbiev, right at the end. So, yeah, Bivol, Beterbiev, bit of that. It was a close fight, no question about that. So I think I was scoring it for Boxing News, and I put my scores in, and it came up as a draw, and I thought Bivol won that.
keeping him from getting to his geography, where he can set up shop inside and tear you apart. But later, I even made a note during the fight. I said, better Beev not going to the body enough. And then Beev is going to the body. Wow, they switch places. I thought it'd be the other guy going to the body. And then all of a sudden, what happens in the championship rounds? Bang, better Beev starts going to the body, takes the air out of the tires a little bit, gets his opponent, Beev, great opponent, other champion, right? Gets him to cooperate with him a little bit. In other words, gets him to stay in the geography that he knew all night wasn't good for him. But now he had no choice. He had no choice. The tires were flat. So now all of a sudden he's in front of him. Again, plays into Beev's hands on the inside, and he takes those championship rounds. Just sitting there, great fight. Sitting there, not only great fight, a fight that was worthy of a unification. So you're sitting there, and I'm saying, I got it real close either way. Championship round's gonna, and then Beev, to me, fairly definitively, wins the championship rounds because he gets it to geography that makes sense for his talent. He's able, to impose his physicality on him, on Beev, enough to get those late rounds.
But it was a good fight. It was an excellent fight to watch as a neutral. It was an excellent fight I thought for the fans. But the two guys again got different styles of boxing. One of them, he normally doesn't need a judge, does he? That's the first time he's gone the distance in a fight.
Oh, right.
And he had his moments in the fight, certainly in the latter stages of it. And I thought Beev boxed extremely well behind his jab, and a couple of times stood and traded with him with some power shots. He caught him some power shots, but it was. It was. I thought it was a really, 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 really good fight.
And in at number 1, Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury from the undisputed world heavyweight title fight earlier this year. Many thought that going into the fight it would be a complete chess match, but that's not how it turned out. Fury was of course down in round 9 after a dominant couple of rounds from the Ukrainian, in which he broke the Brit's nose in round 8 and then knocked him down after bouncing him off the ropes in round 9. Fury did have his moments though, just before that and in the earlier rounds, and a controversial 10th round in which it certainly could have been scored 10 apiece. All ended with a split decision win to Oleksandr Usyk as we now head into the rematch this December. Let's get some reaction to that one.
Okay, he doesn't hit as hard as Dillian Whyte. Fury's been in with some. He doesn't hit as hard as Klitschko. Okay, he's been in with some monstrous punches. I just think that the way he was able to inflict that damage on him, I think it was a combination of punches. I think it was the fact that right at the end of the 8th round, he caught Fury with a combination, hit him flush on the nose. We saw his nose get busted up a little bit and blood, and he came out for round 9. And I remember saying to my son, who I was watching it with, and a group of guys, I went, God, does because I said, does Fury look tired?
You're not using what got you there in the first place. I don't look at that. I don't think, you know what? But he went in there. He understood. He went in there with it. He realised he went in there with a guard that everything he tried wasn't working. And as in Usyk pumped up pressure, kept it on him first 3 rounds. Then he was getting hit. Usyk, and I thought, bloody hell, he's breaking him. Tyson's breaking him. But his mental strength and turnaround is ridiculous. Where he stuck at it, and he got hit and hurt a few times. But he was consistent. He's been consistent all the way through the fight, all the way through to the build to fight, all the way through from when this fight's been announced, all the way through his career, been consistent. That's a mental habit that's been created. Tyson Fury hasn't.
You look like you had a big trouble.
The match was good. Basically, we get together. Basically, we do it together. I think that, look, I mean, it was a close fight. And respect to Tyson. I want to hear it, but it's too loud to hear the after interview. But Look, I think Usyk might have taken it by 1 or 2 rounds. He hurt Tyson Fury, which I was very surprised by as well. But look, overall, look, it happened in boxing. It happened and look, I can hear Tyson talking now. Look, it happens in boxing. You sometimes have a bad day in the office. I think today was Tyson Fury's bad day in the office.
I thought it was a tremendous fight. I mean, I think everyone scored it a little bit differently. Like, I had Fury in control after 6 rounds. Not everyone did. And then obviously for me, Usyk dominated the fight on the back end. I thought it was an incredible performance. I thought both guys boxed very, very well. But obviously Usyk did that something special. The 9th round was thrilling. Could it have been stopped? Maybe, maybe not. But, you know, for me, it was just a great spectacle of heavyweight boxing. You know, a great example of the elite level of the sport and how great the sport can be. And I think both guys deserve a lot of credit. You know, I said yesterday, we called them ha-ha merchants. Like, we sometimes enjoy seeing people get beat, where really we should be congratulating them and thanking them for putting up a great fight.